And good morning. Welcome back to the morning show on this delightful New Year's Eve. That's why we're all kind of subtly dressed. I wouldn't say subtle.
Is this subtle? We're subtle.
A muted color palette. How's that?
Well, yes, yeah.
So,
it is a different color palette.
It is.
Us.
So not our usual color palette. But good morning. I'm Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at the Arizona Center. I don't know why I have my hands in my pockets. I'm an Italian. Clearly, I'm going to use them. We are also joined by Rachel, who is here to talk to us about some beer, which I'm very excited about. I met Rachel for the first time actually at Phoenix Beer Company at 602 Day, but I had heard about you, seen you on social. You're kind of like famous a little bit for beer.
If you say so.
So we're excited to have you here. So what have we got?
Yeah, so today I brought in 3 Bonehouse beers. So I work at Bonehouse Brewing out in Fountain Hills. And I just kind of wanted to show today the rainbow of beer and beer colors and beer flavors. So we have these 3 beers. So this is a German Kolsch. This is called Lode Light. It's going to be a very pale beer. This is Legend of the Red Ghost. It is a red ale, so it's going to be a red beer. And this is the Greed of Fisk and Gould. It is an imperial stout, so it's going to be a very dark beer. And I have some of the grains here as well that go into these beers. I wondered what those
were.
So you can kind of see.
Looks like hamster pellets. What
so
is that?
these are hops.
Okay.
So hops are what go into all beers to help combat the inherent sweetness that malt is and imparts into beer. So we have to apply some bitterness into our beer making so that it is actually palatable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can pop them open.
Yeah.
Or
Should we
first off, tell us a little about Bonehouse Brewery, because I mean,
Sure.
it's not stark when you walk in the doors. Don't expect white walls.
Yes.
So why Bonehouse Brewery, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Bonehouse, we opened in 2018, and all of our artwork, as you can see here, and the decor that you were just referring to, is all very rooted in Arizona history, but also kind of walking the line of life and death as well. So all of the decor is either Arizona history, mostly mining related, or skeletons. And our motto is Memento Mori, which means remember you die. And our hope is that when you are in Bonehouse and you are surrounded by death, that perhaps you will enjoy yourself a little bit more. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So actually that's a big thing in Freemasonry is the Memento Mori. And then I'm writing a book about death, so I feel like I could come right at your brewery.
You would fit right in. You would fit right in.
Do
Absolutely.
you know who did the artwork for these?
Yeah. So he is a local artist. His name is Michael Whelan.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
And in all of the artwork too, there is a hidden number 13 because 13 is our lucky number. So if you like scavenger hunts, you can take a peek at the can and see if you can find
Look at that,
the lucky number
scavenger
13.
hunt.
I love a good drinking game. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you want to talk about more history, Marshall, but can we talk while we drink? Is that at least acceptable?
Of course we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So.
All right. We want to start light and go dark?
Yeah.
Of
That's what
course.
we're thinking? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this is usually the realm where I stay, is in this light beer. Yeah.
We'll do little samples for now. We'll see if we want to finish them off later. All right.
Okay.
So this is a German-style Kolsch ale. It's always going to be very light in color and also crystal clear. It's a beer that is an ale, but it is cold conditioned, meaning that we let it mature at colder temperatures, which clears up the clarity and it makes it a really crisp, nice, clean beer.
It almost looks like it could be champagne. Like
Sure.
if you didn't know what was in the glass, you could just be like,
Yeah.
I know.
So-
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, and it's very effervescent too. So one thing we always want to do when we're trying beer, it's much like wine. So we want to do a little swirl, get that carbonation going a little bit because that releases all of the aromas. And so we want to release those aromas and then smell our beer and see what we are interpreting.
I have no idea.
So when we're tasting beer, we want to think about a couple of things. We want to think about malt aromas, hop aromas, yeast aromas. And so Malt would be anything that comes from the grains.
Okay.
Hops would be anything that comes from the hops. And then yeast is going to be anything that comes from the yeast. So we're thinking a little bit more bread forward with malt, a little bit more botanical or citrusy forward with the hops. And then yeast can be a little eccentric sometimes, so that can be spicy or a little bit funky, barnyard, depending on the yeast strain that you use.
I've never heard yeast described as eccentric before. That's
It's very
Or
eccentric.
barnyard. And I'm like,
It can be very eccentric,
it's
yes.
like, give me a barnyard beer.
Yeah, some people really like that.
This is so fun. So I
they-
don't know if you know this, but I couldn't smell out of one nostril for a really long time.
Oh,
and I had
no.
surgery. And I love smelling things now. It's
Yeah.
so fun. But I don't actually know what, like, I couldn't identify anything.
Yeah, and my nose is so wonky that unless it was rancid.
Yeah, no. So this little bit of some lighter malt tones. So let's think like white bread flesh, not
Okay.
not like the crust per se, or even maybe a honey sweetness.
I was saying, 'cause I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it smells kind of sweet.
Am I allowed to
So-
taste it?
Yes, yes, you can taste it.
Oh, I've already been tasting. Was I not supposed to be tasting?
We were smelling.
Oh,
It's okay.
See, yeah, I
I
like
was-
this.
it was breaking the rules.
And one fun thing about beer is that the aroma doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with how it tastes per se. So certain traits in these ingredients,
That's tricky.
yeah, can be just aromatic, just on the nose forward, and then others like bitterness is only a taste. You can't smell bitterness. So it's always a really interesting experience trying beer and figuring out what you're smelling versus what you're tasting, how
is
those things go together. Yeah.
You can't smell bitterness. I don't
Correct.
think I've ever thought about that
Yeah.
before. That's
It's-
really
it's
interesting.
strictly a taste. Yeah. So what do we think? Melissa likes it. Okay, let's do that.
I do.
Yeah, no, it's
I told you, this is usually my
great.
world. Yeah.
no, it's good.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of hot bitterness at the end there. Makes it makes you kind of salivate a little bit more, like you want to take like another sip.
I did.
Yeah. She likes it.
She likes it.
Yay!
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
So now
this
do we-
one has a really cool name.
Now, do we get new glasses?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's what
Yes.
I thought. I was like, that's why I didn't.
I
Like,
hope I
that's
grabbed
why I didn't,
9.
I didn't
think.
down that.
I think we're
so.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Here.
Okay.
Yeah. So this next beer is a red ale, and I'm going to let Marshall talk about our collaboration with
Yeah.
Melinda's Alley with our red ale.
Yeah, so basically, there is, so downtown, just south of Monroe, is an alley called Melinda's Alley. And so basically, that was our red light district, our Skid Row, and was then named for Melinda Curtis, who was a working girl in that alley. But she was so beloved by the community, and when she passed away, they named the alley after her, but when she was buried, there was no money for a headstone. So basically, when you buy this beer, a few bucks of that beer goes to get Melinda a headstone out at Greenwood Cemetery,
That's
which I think is
cool.
really cool.
Fabulous.
How do you find out how close they are to getting the headstone? Like, is there a thermometer of funds that we can go look at somewhere?
I don't know if it's that organized at this moment, so
So it's just this beer.
it's just that,
this
it's
one.
just that one
Okay.
beer.
Okay, so this is
So-
Legend of the Red Ghost. If you're interested in getting her lovely and well-deserved headstone.
Indeed.
Okay.
She passed away in 1909 and should have wound up in the Pauper Cemetery, but she was working right across the alley from the Adams Hotel, which is where all the politicians hung out.
How convenient.
How convenient. So indeed.
I love how he didn't say a single word more than he had to on that one.
I do believe, though, that the fundraising beer is just what they're selling at Melinda's Alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
so
99% sure about
okay.
that.
Then
So I
you
don't
have to
wanna-
get it at Melinda's Alley
Yeah,
for
I
that
don't want
to
to
be the
steer
case.
anybody wrong. Yes.
No, okay.
But ask for the red ale at Melinda's Alley, and then it's however much they're wanting to contribute to that fund.
Perfect.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
taste it.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
Indeed.
So,
And she also pours so much better than I do.
I was gonna say I'm like all
Be-
foam when I
right,
pour.
exactly.
Yeah.
well, the trick is 45-degree angle, 45-degree angle. Now, you always do want some foam on there because, like I had mentioned earlier, that carbonation is releasing all of those aromas. So you do want to pour a little bit heavy, but not super heavy that the foam just dissipates immediately. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
That's one of my problems is I tend to, I guess, pour too heavy and then.
I mean, it's better to release it than not release it because then all that carbonation just goes in your belly and then you don't feel as great. So you do definitely want to release it. Yeah. So, big color difference.
Yeah.
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 So this is a red ale because it is a red beer. And the color of this beer is affected by the malt that we put in it. So you can kind of think about malts like toast, you know, depending on how long you toast something dictates how dark or the different flavors that come out of it.
Okay.
So we have a very pale malt here. This is what we call a crystal malt, which means it's processed a little bit more to bring out some of those, what we call Maillard reactions. So which is what happens when bread is toasted, when things, or even when meat is seared, that sort of thing.
Now this one, when I smell it, it almost like activates the back of my tongue. Like I can feel it kind of like, I don't know.
Anticipating?
I don't know how to explain it. Yeah.
So there's going to be a little bit more, maybe some caramel flavors and aromas in this. There should be some nice hop bitterness at the end too, again to combat that sweetness that beer inherently has. So we
That's
have
nice
to put
too.
hops in all of our beer. Yeah.
I feel like for, I don't know, like for fall and winter, this is a nice little.
And I'm also getting like a little floral note kind of on the
Sure.
very back end.
And that's coming from the hops. Yeah. So hops can be, they can impart bitterness, sure, but they also impart a lot of flavors too. So they can be herbaceous, they can be tropical, they can be citrus, herbal. Yeah, all those things.
What did you say the first one? Not herbate. It wasn't herbaceous.
Did I say herbaceous?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just start talking and my brain just spits things out.
I love that word.
Yeah.
I was like, that is a fantastic
Oh
word.
yeah, no, I love herbaceous because I mean, it's like there's so many, especially alcohol that's herbaceous. I mean, I love cocktails that are very herby, almost medicinal.
You like Malort or Fernet then?
Fernet on the rocks.
Yeah. There. Very good. It's got a little bit, it's just overall a little bit more of a heavier body beer. It's got a little bit more flavor to it. So yeah, we're working down the ladder here from very light, crisp summertime pool, river situation. Like you said, this is really nice for the changing seasons, fall. It pairs really well with food that comes around this time of year too. Yeah, it's a good middle of the road beer for sure.
I'm finishing this one too.
Okay.
It's been a week. It's only Monday, but it's been a week. Can I just say that? So.
Well, you've got to get ready for tonight.
I do. I'm pre-drinking.
I mean, right, exactly. So that would just
come in toasty.
You'll be hair the dog all day, all night.
There is strategy for that for sure.
Right, exactly. Start early and just keep going.
Just keep going. Yep. I'll be with Melissa. We'll finish it off.
All right, so now we got our
we got
one.
the dark one. So this is the Greed of Fisk and Gould. This is
what a great name, by the way.
Yeah, so Fisk and Gould were the two guys that bought all of the gold and crashed the stock market and created Black Friday.
Okay.
The original Black Friday. So this beer comes out on Black Friday every year, and it only comes out once a year.
Oh,
And,
wow.
That is dark.
This is actually the last can of this beer. I went to the brewery
Ooh.
this morning and I got it and I was like, ooh, lucky us. Yeah, so
Look at
very
that.
dark beer, completely opaque. You
Oh,
can't,
wow.
you can't even see light
see
through it.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. Even our stage lights are
Yep.
not.
So Imperial Stout is going to be a stout that has higher alcohol in it. So this is actually a 10% beer.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is very much a wintertime beer by the fire.
We'll be
think
having
about-
a fun rest of the show.
That's like we wouldn't, but it'll just be enhanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Imperial Stouts with this beautiful roasted barley here that we have. This is going to impart more very roasty characteristics. Think like burnt espresso, very, very dark coffee. We also do put chocolate and maple in here, so it's going to have some of that sweetness to kind of help balance out that very intense roasty
Did
flavor.
you taste it yet?
I have not tasted.
Are you ready?
But I'm thinking while I'm doing this, I would also love to hear Rachel talk about how did you find passion in beer?
How did I find passion in beer?
Because I mean, it's obviously that you're very passionate about it.
I am, yeah. Well, you and I both are historians in our own very different veins. I lean more towards the ancient side. I have a graduate degree in Egyptology, actually.
No way.
Yeah.
That was originally going to be my major. Museum
Shut
Studies
up.
with specialization in Egyptology. That's funny.
It's crazy.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
That's exciting.
We'll have to get a beer sometime and talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so, studying ancient history, beer essentially sparked the notion of civilization, of settling down, of farming, because barley was one of the first grains, anything that was farmed and cultivated. And so along with that came brewing of beer. And so beer has always been a huge part of my studies. And then when I got into the beer industry, I noticed that there was a lack of education, of passion for what beer is, outside of just drinking it. And so I was like, well, I'll start talking about beer in a really nerdy, cool, fun way, and hopefully people will resonate with that.
And they have. You've built a
Yeah.
wonderful community and following from sharing your passion and knowledge about beer. We are so thankful for you to come in today. Please let us know, how can people come visit you, find these beers? How do you want them to connect with you?
Sure. So Bonehouse is out in Fountain Hills. I work behind the bar. Sometimes I'm more kind of back of house these days, but I am out doing events, and I do teach beer school the second Tuesday of every month, where you get a flight of beer curated by me, and we sit down for an hour, we taste the beer much like we did today, and we talk about anything and everything related to beer.
What's the website to sign up for your beer school?
It's bonehousebrewing.com. Under the events tab, you'll be able
Perfect.
to sign up. Yeah.
And if you don't follow her on Instagram, I definitely recommend you do. She's a really fun follow. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Marshall and I are probably going to finish one or all of these.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if we are a little more...
Diane Dresbeck, be ready for us. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Indeed.
Year.
Happy New Year.
We'll be back after a break with some things to do, some history. We just might be staring at each
Fun.
other drunkenly. I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens.